Welcome to the Christian Car Guy Radio Show.
I say this calls for action, and now.
But maybe the wait is where we learn. Patience pays when the tides
The waiting takes fuel. So idling is a fascinating process when it comes to an automobile that, the engine is spinning, yet the wheels are not turning. Not the driving wheels anyway are not turning. And, you got to have air conditioning. I hope you have it this summer while you're waiting at the stoplight. And so there's a whole lot of stuff going on. You're certainly expecting the light to turn green. And so you have this hope, this expectation. So, but what are you actually doing while that's going on in your idling? Sitting behind the wheel, so to speak. What is going through your mind? So we call this stoplight focus today. What are you doing to stay focused on your driving? Because I'm sure you've had the experience of being behind that guy that's on his phone, or maybe you were the guy that was on his phone and, you about sat halfway through the light, or maybe you're the fourth car back and you end up stopped because the guy didn't go. It's a frustrating thing, but nonetheless, it's a lesson like we just heard about in that song, waiting in line. And so what is your stoplight focus? We would love for you to call in and share that today. 866-348-7884. What do you do to stay focused, when you're waiting in a stoplight? And we're going to go into a little bit about car idling and tips about all that, because it is a mechanical marvel, and I wanted to go into that. But I also wanted you to think about when Jesus was getting ready to go to the cross in Matthew 25. He gave his, as far as Matthew's concerned, the last three parables in a row all had to do with what to do kind of while you wait. Because you got the parable of the 10 virgins, and you have the parable of the talents, and of course the parable of the 10 virgins, right? They're going to be waiting on the bridegroom, and they've got oil, and obviously they need fuel while they wait. It's a perfect example of what we're talking about today. But then there's the people with the talents, and they're waiting on their master to return. And that requires, do they really think that the light's going to turn green? Is he going to be back? Or are they going to, I think the guy that hit it in the ground may be like the person sitting at the stoplight that isn't paying attention, so to speak, the wicked, lazy servant, so to speak. That may be how you feel about him as you think about that person that's holding you up. But then you've got the last one, which is the separating of the sheep of the goats. And, when you saw that person hungry, the least of these, when you saw that person without clothes, the compassion, the giving us ideas of what to do while we wait, which all speaks to this idea of waiting. So how about you as you wait for Christ? That's another thing I would love to hear your calls. 866-348-7884. As you think about, as you're waiting for Christ, do you expect the light to turn green? Are you thinking about that like in your walk, minute by minute? Is the light, are we paying attention? Do we have that hope that certainly the light's going to turn green, and we get to go? That's part of clearly what's involved in that. But what else might you be doing to make sure you got plenty of oil, that you're being a good steward with your talents, et cetera, et cetera? 866-348-7884. What does this all stir up in your heart? I would just absolutely love to know. Of course, we've got RK calling in at the bottom of the hour, and he's got all sorts of interesting things to talk about. Brakes. Because I don't know if you've thought about it, but if you didn't have brakes, you wouldn't be able to sit at the stoplight. In other words, the brakes got to get you stopped, and then they got to hold you there, especially if you're on a hill. maybe you had that experience when you were younger with a manual transmission where you had to drive and hold yourself on the clutch. So brakes are a gigantic part of being able to idle. I don't know if you've ever thought about that, but it's a significant thing. And then you've got, all sorts of systems, and some that save you a whole lot of fuel these days by simply turning off the car or so that it isn't burning fuel, wasting that precious oil, so to speak. And fascinating, it's the same word, that while you're sitting in an idle. And so a lot of the cars today automatically turn off. But, if you're in a situation where you're going to be sitting still, you got a train that's passing by or something that's going to take a significant amount of time, starters can work time and time again, as they're proving in these newer cars that, that as soon as you stop, they have sensors to decide, you're not using, you don't need any gas, so they shut the engine off. And very cool, if you've got hybrid like I do, there's electric air conditioning compressors, and there's electric power brake boosters and all that could actually hold the car in place and do all the things electrically that used to be done by, the engine spinning. I don't know if you realized maybe that your brake system uses vacuum off the engine. If you've got a traditional setup with a power brake booster, that all those things require the engine to be spinning in order to create power to make all these things happen. And so I'm really interested in what your thoughts are. We got Scott is in Utah about what he does when he's at a stoplight. Scott, you're on the Christian Car Guy Show. Good morning.
Good morning. God bless you.
God bless you.
You notice how, thank you. You notice how if you're in a hurry and you stop at a stoplight, it seems like it takes forever to turn green. And it's just crazy. And a lot of times we pray the Lord, I pray the Lord, and I'm in a hurry, right? And it seems like it takes forever for the Lord to answer me back. And other times, it from my perception, because I'm not in a hurry, it doesn't seem to take that long. You know what I'm saying?
That's a beautiful...
If you're in a hurry, you're late for church. You hit that red stoplight. You're like, oh, my goodness. Come on.
Isn't that a fascinating... word picture, I guess, of exactly how it feels. How it feels.
Also, I was in it with a friend, and he went and bought a new car. And I was at the stoplight with him. He was driving, and his engine shut off. And I was like, oh, my goodness, what are we going to do? We got to push this out of the way, And he was like, no, hold on, be patient. It'll start right back up, And I also liken that to the first part, waiting on the Lord, because I heard that engine shut off. One times I think the Lord's not listening to me, if the Holy Spirit shut off or whatever. And I need a friend to say, hold on, just wait. It'll start. God's never late. God's never late.
You're exactly right, Scott. That is beautiful. It's exactly what it is, right?
Right. And we have to have patience and wait on the Lord, but sometimes that's easier to do than other times,
Oh, I understand. And again, it's fascinating you say that, because yesterday morning I needed to do an interview for a radio show. I was supposed to be here at 10 o'clock, and there was a lane closure due to some construction. And I was, going crazy trying to find an alternate way to not have to sit in this line. And I took off. This is a true story, man. I took off, in what I thought would be another way to get to work, and it turned out to be a dead end. And I ended up having to come back and wait even longer in the line because it had grown the whole time I was out there trying to figure out a way to get around it. So I think there's certain, to your point, right? If we would just, trust, because there's a gigantic part of waiting that has to do with trust, right?
Right. Well, like, I want to take the reins back a lot of times. Like, when my friend's car shut off, I thought, oh, no, we're going to get out and push this thing, you know?
Right.
We got to do it ourselves. We got to do it ourselves. And he's like, no, be patient. It's going to start, you know? And so I got to remember to let go and let God, you know?
That's beautiful, Scott. Thank you for your call. It means so much to me. It makes my
have
day,
a great
really.
day.
Yes, God bless. And you have an amazing day out there in Utah. You're up early. So we appreciate it.
It's already warm.
Yeah, we got to go to a break. But thank you, Scott. You have an amazing day. God bless. We'll be right back with a whole lot more Idling Takes Fuel.
Waiting in line for a chance to shine. Holding my place but losing my mind. Oh, waiting in line.
Idling takes fuel today on the Christian Car Guy Show. It certainly does. We're having a wonderful discussion of, what are your stoplight focuses, right? As you're waiting in line, you're expecting it to turn green. That's called hope, right? And what is going through your mind to make sure that you are going to be at your destination, what God has in mind for your life? 866-348-7884, 866-348-7884. I would love to know your thoughts. So, as promised, I want to dig into this idea of waiting. It's a biblical concept. You'll find it throughout the Bible. But fascinatingly, the word for wait and the word for hope are almost the same word. They really are the same word in several circumstances as far as the way it's spelled in Hebrew. And so the first time the word that's usually translated hope is used, it's used by Ruth as she is telling her daughters-in-law why she doesn't have any hope. she is not expecting the light to turn green on her life, unfortunately, at this point in time. But God had other plans, thank goodness, right? But she uses this word, it's takava, right? And that word, fascinatingly, the next places that you will find it are in the book of Job. He uses it in one form or the other 17 times, right? As Job, you can think about, would certainly need hope. But the first place you actually find the word in Hebrew, the word takava, which Ruth uses as hope, is the red cord that Rahab holds out the window. Okay? So that red line, the scarlet cord, as it would be called, is also very much connected to this idea of hope. Right? And it's a beautiful thing that when you look at the word, it's sort of a compound word, takava. It comes from the root of the word kava, which is usually where you're going to find the word wait. It's also used as hope. In fact, it's used as hope a great deal. 5 times in the book of Job, it's translated hope. But when you hear Isaiah say, to wait, so you can rise up on wings like an eagle, that's the word kava. Right? So you get in the picture that the word wait and hope biblically are the same word, but they're also connected, and this is, to me, critical to this idea of a gathering together. And the reason I say that is the very first place that you're going to find the word kava, the word to wait, is when the waters were gathered together. You'll find it right there. Interestingly, when the waters are gathered together, the Spirit hovers over the waters, but then they're gathered together so that you would have the heavens and you would have the seas. Well, that gathering together, it comes together as a twisting, okay? And when you think about that scarlet cord, the way that it was made was they twist these fibers together, right? And the scarlet certainly is a picture of Christ in so many different ways. In fact, the whole thing is a picture of Christ. But nonetheless, so as we're waiting, we're not sitting still. And just like that car is usually spinning, unless it has a newer engine, right? As we're waiting, there's actually idling going on, and it does require fuel. And so, Psalm 119, interestingly, is if we look at the word takava, which is, again, kava with a T on the front of it, or the tav, the letter tav, which is the last letter in the Hebrew Bible. And so, in other words, we're going to take this idea of waiting and hope, and we're going to add this final story to it, so to speak? What's the end of the hope? What's the end of waiting is kind of at the beginning of the word. And what's at the end of waiting, obviously, is Jesus going to come. But if you look at the very last verse in the 119th Psalm, because the 119th Psalm has to do with all 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. And so the last letter being the letter Tav, which is the Omega, like Jesus is the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega. So the last letter is clearly Jesus. And what does the last verse say? It says, we like sheep have gone astray. Seek your servant because we keep thy commandments. The idea is, or remember thy commandments. The idea of that is really no man left behind. And when you look at the word takava, which is that word for hope, the very first letter incorporates that idea of the tribe of Dan, which the tribe of Dan was the last tribe that went out. And by the way, the letter Tav and the word Tav is made up of the two letters of a Dalet and a Nun, which spell Dan. Well, Dan was the tribe that left out to make sure that nothing got left behind. There was no fork, somebody's or whatever. But most importantly, that there were no lost sheep. Well, when you think of the idea of hope, takava, right? Not only are we waiting, but just like the virgins, just like the parable of the talents, just like Jesus explains between the sheep and the goats, the ones that are looking for the least of these, right? That they were hungry and somebody fed them. What were they hungry for? They were hungry for God, right? They were naked and nobody clothed them. What are they naked from? They're naked because they don't have the covering of Christ over their sin, right? All these things that Jesus is describing there are connected to your love for him becomes so bright, like those virgins that are described in that first parable. Like, oh my goodness, you're waiting, but you're waiting with a bright light that's so full of your relationship with God that you're attractive to everybody else. Then you're being a good steward with your talents, right? And you're investing them, which the greatest talent you were ever given, believe me, is love. Now, I don't know if you ever looked at how much a talent is worth, but it's $1.5 million, okay? So when that guy went and buried $1.5 million in his garden, like, what are you thinking? Why do you think he was called a wicked, lazy servant? If you had $1.5 million, would you go hide it in the dirt? No. You need to take that. Well, what's worth more than money? According to Song of Solomon, chapter 8, he would give everything he had for love. It's the greatest risk that God ever took was loving us, right? It's terribly vulnerable to love somebody else. So if you take that greatest gift that you were given, the $1.5 million gift we were all given is the love of God, right? And as we invest that as stewards, right, into the least of these, taking these parables as we wait at the stoplight, we takava. We are going to wait, but we are going to hope that the light is going to turn green. Jesus is coming. And when he does, we want to hear him say, well done, good and faithful servant. So we got RK coming up in the garage when we come back. Plus your calls, 866-348-7884.
Waiting in line for a chance to shine, holding my place but losing my mind. Oh, waiting in line where dreams combine.
Idling takes fuel today on the Christian Car Guy Show. The manic, but it really does. We've been talking about what it takes to wait with this anticipation that like the light's going to turn green and we're going to go like we wait on the Lord. We wait on him in hope, right? That light is going to turn green, but it's a mechanical marvel of a car when you think about it. Like all these things are going on. And I don't know if you're aware, but my friend RK, we're going to get to in a second, will tell you that getting a car to idle properly is a huge thing. It's gigantic. It's very, very difficult to get it because to run well at a low speed is a little more difficult than getting it to run at a mid-speed. And then you got to get it to operate all these different accessories. And during all that happening, you've got to be stopped, which is what we want to talk about today, because brakes are a huge part of idling. Again, we've got RK on the line, and so, it's an amazing thing to have.
And now time for the legendary
RK in the garage
of RK88 and still full throttle.
He's actually 89 now, and actually calling from the hospital this morning because you're idling right now, RK, right?
Yes. It's the first time I've ever talked on the radio and sat in the hospital room. And I haven't looked at TV in 5 days because I wanted my brain to get. I was reading and something like that. I want my brain to do other things instead of watching that boob tube. But anyway, this is unique. And Robbie, you started off something there the other day. I don't know if I can continue it up. But hi, folks. I hope everybody else is out there doing good. I'm doing good because I know I'm doing good because the Lord left 5 cars in the driveway for me to fix it. So he wants me back there. I know it. Anyway, Robbie was talking about his brakes giving us some trouble and getting hard and stuff like that. Well, there's been a couple of times I've seen that happen, and especially to me. I've been RVing. Maybe I had the first RV in 1971 or 2, and I've been RVing on and off for the last 50 years. And when Robbie mentioned his brakes were getting harder, brakes were changing or making noises, I remember distinctly I bought a 1994 Holiday Rambler 36-foot chassis with a 501 engine. Before that, they made the 454s. They didn't work they worked as hard as the 501, but they didn't get as hot. They stick them engines underneath there, and then on top of that, they stick the RVs. Well, you got to have them breathe. You got to have them air get in there, and if you don't, you're in trouble. So we had the Holiday Rambler rally down at the 41-mile marker in the Keys, Knights Key ground, down there in the 41-mile marker, and I said, well, we'll go. The rally started the next day. We left probably about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I said, well, we got to stop early because we took off late. So we got off the highway somewhere, maybe South Carolina, Georgia, I don't remember. And I said, we have to find a place, Mayor. So she said, well, we'll look. So I couldn't, 2 places were closed, and I said, well, let me see up the street. I see some lights and things. Let me see what's happening. Well, I went to step on the brake, and there was no brake. It was down to the floor. So I did slow down with the emergency brake. I didn't say anything to my wife. And I said, go to CVS Pharmacy. That's what we'll stay tonight. She goes, oh, no. It's not safe here. I said, well, it's not safe here either. She said, what do you mean? So I turned the light on, and I said, watch my right foot. And it went all the way to the floor. There was no brake.
That's a horrible feeling. I've had it.
Yeah, and I got maybe 18,000 pounds of vehicle here. So I said, I think we're going to park over there. So I parked over there, shut the engine down, and tried to figure out what it was. Well, overnight, guys, I get up, stayed. I get up, step in the brake, perfect. Had all the brake in the world. Well, Chevrolet or the engineer, they forgot about the heat. What they did with that thing, they put that master cylinder and hydraulic cylinder right alongside the left side of the engine, maybe 5 or 6 inches away, something like that. And it would heat up the master cylinder and the hydraulic system and turn your fluid to vapor. That's why you had no brake. So I said, wow, I got to fix this. So I did. I left the mountains. I got down. It was in the morning. Got down, past some shop, maybe Lowe's, maybe hardware store. Pulled in. She said, what are you doing? I'm going to get a fix. She looked at me like my wife looked at me, huh? So I went in and I said to the guy, hey, I need some insulated bubble wrap. I thought about it overnight. insulated bubble wrap. Well, guys, I made a boot for that master cylinder, double that boot, and you could take it off and put it on and check your fluids. And I put it on there. Guys, I sold that RV a year and a half later to somebody in Puerto Rico and never had a bit of problem with the brake again.
Yeah, it is so important to understand that when your foot goes to the brake, the floor, or you see that red light, importantly, the brake light come on in your dash, yes, your emergency brake may be on. But if your emergency brake is not on, just like RK said, you pull over to the side of the road. It's telling you you don't have any hydraulic brake pressure, which could happen because it turned to fume, like RK said. Or it could be that you have a leak in the system, and when you push your foot on the brake, even inside the master cylinder, there are seals that break down, and when they do,
yes,
you have exactly the same thing happen where your foot goes to the brake, and
symptoms. Yeah,
there's two things to think about. Number one, that's what emergency brake means. Then you could call it a barking brake all you want to, but the real issue for the emergency brake is it works off a cable. It doesn't work off, or it works in different ways in different cars, but it doesn't work off the hydraulic system that is failing.
Mechanical.
It's a mechanical brake, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
And yes, so sir. When you have that situation, you be prepared, like mentally. Just like you're waiting at the stop line, you got to know, okay, if my foot goes to the floor or that light comes on and I'm in an emergency situation, that's what the emergency brake's for. It's hard to use it. You might even practice at some point in your life when you're out by yourself practicing your emergency braking, because it's a tricky thing, right? Because that thing wants to stick.
Yes, yeah, and folks, if you do it, don't forget you have it on. Don't forget you, because that's the red light shows that you have it on. Yeah, you're going to go down the road with it on. But if your red light's not working, just make sure. But that's very uncommon today.
Yeah, it doesn't happen near as much as it used to be when we had conventional brakes, and they all had wheel cylinders, and they had little rubber boots that went around. It wasn't unusual at all for those wheel cylinders to leak. You would be low on brake fluid and those kind of things.
Well, you know what they're doing to us today, Robbie. I did one for my neighbor, 2018 Ford, the rear brakes he needed to put on. The emergency brake is in the caliper. Actually, caliper screws out when you step on the emergency brake. That's what happens. It screws out. Now, if you have to put pads on that thing, you have to go into the system, turn the key on, step on the brake, turn it off, turn the key on, do something else for that cylinder, that piston in there to go relax and go back to its original position, so you can put the brake pads on. Took us 3 hours to do 2 wheels. Weird.
Yeah, they're always, reinventing the brake.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Again, the systems are there. Those bright red lights in your car mean you have an emergency, right? The overheating red light, pull over. Man, I cannot tell you how many cars I've known in my life, between the Jesus, labor, love, poor ladies, that red light came on. They thought, well, I'll just make it to the next exit. No, you won't.
No, stop.
No, you won't. That red light comes on. It's red for a reason. If it's yellow, it's caution. It's a different kind of light. But if it's red, you got to stop.
But still fix the yellow.
All right. Well, we got to go to a break. We'll probably hold on to RK for another few minutes. And if you want to call in, you got an idea about idling takes fuel, we would love to know your thoughts. 866-348-7884, 866-348-7884. We'll be right back.
Waiting in line for a chance to shine, holding my place but losing
Idling takes fuel. Today on the Christian Car Guy Show, the mechanical marvel of idling and sitting in the stoplight, right? And waiting on the light to turn green. And what is going on inside of you while your car is doing all sorts of things? You have hope, you have joy, you have all sorts of opportunities, right? That are right there with you. And so fun. We still have RK with us in the garage, but now we've got Miss J is in Greensboro as well. And so, Miss J, while you're sitting there waiting on that light, I hope you're not the guy while looking at his phone.
No, I'm not that guy.
Good. I'm so glad to hear.
How are you doing, Rob? You and your family?
Oh, we are doing wonderful. God is so good. Has healed us up beautifully.
I see. I'm able to see you on the YouTube, but I'm still not that savvy with all that stuff, so I can watch. Anyways, but when I'm sitting at a stop sign, I'm thinking, first of all, it's kind of comical because I'm like, these new cars, they cut off.
Yeah.
While you're sitting there. And I'm like wondering, okay, if this car going to start back up again, what was the purpose? What was the purpose of them doing this? Okay, to save fuel. To do some kind of saving. So I'm thinking about the restoration or Christian, or the soulless part of it is how God is saving our souls, and his purpose is, is to tell the gospel, to reach the people about who he is, and we're just, in our time, we're going to have to have some patience up in there, and then you get to restart. Because when you push the pedal back down again, when the light turns green, it has to restart, and then you get to be refreshed, reboot, renewed, rejoy, whatever.
That's a beautiful picture. As you make that metaphor, right? It happens every morning almost, right?
Yes. Yes. And you have to have faith. I got to put faith in there too, because I feel like, okay, this car going to start back up. I'm like, zoom, and sometimes I forget about it. You know what I'm saying? We forget about the things, and it kind of shocks you back into. I'm like, oh, and then you got to keep going, And it's the same with God. You got to have that faith with Him. You got to be fresh, renewed, and He's always suddenly surprising you with some things. So I think I kind of relating that those together.
Beautiful. What a beautiful picture. Thank you, Miss J. I appreciate you. It's great to hear your voice and your joy.
You too.
It's always
you guys have helped me so much. Oh my God, with the car, different things, and then just your inspirational words. And I hope some of my words have helped you guys, you and your family, heal. I was so sorry when I heard about it.
Yes.
And I told you that my mom had passed as well, so I'm still mourning in that area. Sure. Y'all would please keep me in prayer about that.
We will do that. In fact, it'd be a great time when I think about it, since I got you right here. And we have RK right here who's currently in the hospital, so we can kind of have a joint prayer as we can ask God to come in and help. So, Lord, I thank you for what you're teaching us all about waiting and what you're teaching us about brakes. I thank you so much for Miss J. I thank you for the beautiful mother, for the relationship that you gave them, even up to the end of her life. That it was a special thing, Lord, and it's hard. We weren't, you're angry at death, and we are too, and things are taken from us. And so, Lord, only you can help our hearts, and only you can turn that mourning to the oil of joy, as you can hear it in Miss J's voice. But Lord, I pray that she would hear it in her heart, as she would be waiting for that light to turn green when we're all united back together again. And again, I thank you for prayers for our family as we've been healing, but right now for RK while he's in the hospital, Lord, we know that there's some issues they're trying to determine on his fluid levels that have to do with his heart and what may need to happen to a valve that's in his heart. And so, Lord, I pray that you would give RK that joy of feeling your presence through the prayers of so many people, but also, Lord, give wisdom to these doctors, give them insight, help them to see exactly what they need to do and not do anything they don't need to do. With all that's going on, the right medications, the right procedures, all those things, Lord, go ahead of him. And again, I thank you for a chance to be with my friends today and all my friends that are listening. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Yes, I just want to give a shout out to all the big love to all your teams and the ministries that y'all do. God bless y'all.
God bless you, Miss J. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
I'm Miss J hangs up. All that
Yes?
stop and go power at the light, Miss J. It comes
Yes?
from your it comes from your automatic transmission. It's in the transmission, not in the engine. People don't know that, but that's funny.
Oh.
It's funny. That is in the transmission that does that, and that's my expertise. And I laugh because my engine stopped. I said, no, the transmission stops. And they look at me like I'm got three eyes.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, okay.
So explain that, RK, exactly. You hear the engine stop, but the transmission's stopping as well.
There's a unit on top of the valve body in the transmission. If I show you someday, you'll see it. That does all that. It stops and goes. The transmission's got to stop, guys, because if it doesn't, it'll keep you going.
Right.
So that they put that in the transmission, and you could disconnect it and stop it if you want to. You don't have to have that system working. But I left Miss J said she stops and goes, and the first time it came out, I researched it and I said, my gosh, they put that unit to do that in the automatic transmission.
Okay.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
And so it's always been my question, and again, you may not know the engineering behind this, but what did they do to starters? Because it's got to like triple or quadruple the amount of starts that you got to have, and starters wear out too much as it is. Did they do something so that they can just, because if you're in a lot of travel,
they actually changed the solenoid. They usually leave the starters alone. It's the solenoid that you got to go on first, So you don't even know it. It just goes on and off, and you don't even know it. But it's a unique thing. But let me tell you something. If you do the transmission, don't forget to fix that too. It doesn't look like you should fix it, but it does.
You've learned. That's a voice of experience.
Yeah, it's just so fast. It's so fascinating to me, guys, that these engineers come out with that, and then they think that all these guys out there in the field are going to be experts at it. Well, that doesn't work all the time.
He's the voice crying in the wilderness for the cars.
Yes. I love it.
He is that. And so I did want to speak a minute about other emergency, things that I've found really handy over the years to know. Is that one of the things that I wish more cars had is gauges, and I bet you do too, RK. Because you can see what the heat is doing in a car. You can see what the oil pressure is doing. That means something to know, the people like me that know something about it. And so interestingly, if you have a car like I've had for years and years that likes to overheat, just a little hack, so to speak, is your heater core is like an extra radiator. And I can't tell you the times that knowing this has saved my bacon of, like, man, the car starts to...
You take the heat away from the engine a little bit. That heater
right. You flip the heater on full blast, fan going as hot as you can. It's amazing at how it will cool off a car that begins to overheat. Well, I hate we're out of time. As always, too much fun. Thank you, RK. Thank you, Miss J. Oh, thank you so much for all listening. My wonderful caller in Utah that started out the show. Just a great time this morning on the Christian Car Guy Show. I'm so grateful for you all. And we just pray that, Lord, you'd help us all slow down. Jesus walked everywhere he went and got it all done. 33 years. Thanks for listening.